Well, welcome to this I have to check now every time we've been doing so many, but it's our 32nd film in this series, Pattern of the Month. And today, fishing season is over, almost. Few salmon running in a couple of rivers in Great Britain, and sea trout fishing is alive many places, but for me, there's going to be a little bit of sea trout, but besides that, salmon season is over and the tying season is just started. And I tried to fill up my boxes, and I have a little box actually in my fishing vest where I put flies that catches most fish for the season. And since sizes and variations vary all the time, it's good to have this little box and have a look. Okay, so today we're gonna do a big fly, and we're gonna do a fly that's been with me since when? Well, I know I had good fishing on this fly in 1987 on the Orkla, or 87 was a really good year on the Norwegian Orkla. That fly originates from our Galfossen days back in the early 80s, and I made a very big bright fly, and I had good fishing with the American oil guy, Mr. Harry Tennyson, and he was bald like I am, and I called the fly Harry. It's just a bit of a joke, and but the fly gave us a lot of fish, and that fly was bright red with a tint of orange to it. What I did is that I changed the pattern into being more and more orange until it turned out to be what I called Flomflugan, or translating it, Flom in Norwegian is when the river goes really high, so maybe we should call it the flooded fly, but I like Flomflugan, so it's Flomflugan, and fluga is fly in Swedish, so it's a bit of a mix here. What's important with this then? Well, I think to have a bright colored fly in the box can be really good. And you think that you fish this super orange bright fly only like this. Big, cold rivers, murky waters, but sometimes you can shock the fish. I've been catching some really good fish on the flooded fly or the Flomflugan in conditions where the river just got a little bit of tint and almost clear, where the fish has seen most other flies. You can try to fish a big Flomflugan over them, and I had success in that. It's always with fishing, especially when you fish in public waters, is that you need to have fantasy, and you need to change things, and if you come and hear that they caught fish on a number 6 Green Islander, then you know what you're not gonna fish, even if that fish took it. But it's a way of tactics there. But also when it comes to this bright orange fly, don't only fish it big, also fish it smaller. I've caught quite a few fish on small bright flies, orange flies, dangle them in the fast water on the low conditions on the clear river, and especially the fresh round fish can be really angry and grab them. So, but we're gonna do this, and it's I have, like always, a billion variations. I have one where I had a bit of magenta to it, and that's pretty cool too. But today we're gonna do it plain orange, and we're gonna build it up to be a really good drop form on a big fly with a lot of soft materials that will make it swim even if the current is slow. And I think people, we have a tendency to think the wrong way. On the big river, big cold river, we fish deep down, we think that the current is strong, but it's quite the opposite. When we fish deep, we fish below the current, where there are less current than it is fishing high up on the low river. So we need a fly that really moves, and we also need a fly that balances and is not too heavy. I'm going to tie this today the classic way, but I also tie this fly on the BTTs, our brass turbo tubes that are super light to fish it deep. Okay, a lot of talk, a bit of coffee, and we get on to it. And whatever you do, don't forget to fight. We need to fight for our wild fish. There are fewer and fewer every year. Okay, so I'm going to build this as a classic, and I'm going to do it with two different tubes, of course, using our Fitz flexible super tube. It's been better than anything, I think. And to do a big fly, I do a medium tube. I can do this on a large one too, but the medium to be about 3.5 centimeters. And I cut it at an angle like this, as I always do. Take a bit of extra small. Don't need that much. Put this stuff on, and I think it's easier to put this onto the tube and attach everything on the needle, or you can put it in and then put it on, but I think this is easy. And then today I'm using a fluorescent orange thread because I'm going to do an orange dubbing, and I don't want the thread to be seen through the dubbing. Doesn't really matter, but I keep the orange theme through the fly, through all the tying. And I do, like I always do, I cover up this part that I've been cutting the angle to make the medium hold the extra small, and that way I can keep the flexibility in our tubes without using glue, which I think makes a stronger fly. Okay. And I do Mirage, and Mirage is a super material picking up colors, and it will pick up the colors from our fluorescent tubing like this. And I back down here. I could do thread under the Mirage if I wanted to. It doesn't really matter. Always end up underneath. A few turns of thread, and here I tie this fly with a tail or without a tail. If I want to have a fly that is a bit bulkier, a bit less translucent, I put the tail on. And today I think on this one there's a tail, is it? Yeah, there's a little bit of fluorescent tail. I'm not going to do the tail here. I'm going to do this without the tail, and I will let the fluorescent orange tubing be the fluorescent part in the rear end of the fly. So what I do now, I'll just move over to doing our body, and I will use our hollow braid. And we get a lot of people liking our braids, and I understand why. It's super strong. And I will do Alta Gold, and I will do Orange in Flames, and I will also always start tying in the one, here we go, that is going to be my ribbing. And then I take the other one, put it in on top, and I tie these in underneath, just because it's a bit of habit, but it's also the reason is that it's always going to be a little bump where I tie it in, and it's less seen underneath. Then I cover up the edge between the thread and the mirage with the hollow braid, and I overlap this a bit. And there's two things with overlapping the mirage and overlapping the braid, and it's, first of all, I will cover up the thread. Even if our thread is strong, the thread and the fish teeth don't really like each other. So I cover it up by overlapping, and I also have a body that will grow and be tapered. Okay, and like I do on all my flies, I start by a thin tube, and then I grow the fly. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put on a bit of glitz, and I use our hot orange in flames. And the reason it's called hot orange is that there are some really strong fluorescent fibers in this. And like all our SSS materials, there are 5 different colors in each pack. There are 3 different qualities of fiber, and this will make us get appearance that it looks a bit more alive, or a bit better, actually, I think. So I take a little bit at a time, and I just spin it on, and since there are very long fibers, it's a super easy dubbing to put on. And I grow this to the front, back and forth, so I get a body that will be thicker and thicker. And here we go, a little bit more. And I must also be careful so I don't tie too much in front here, because I want to have at least 3 or 4 millimeters of the medium tubing, because I want to put the wings and most of the hackles also onto the medium, not on the extra small. So here we go. There we go, about 3-4 mil, and you can see it's got a lot of volume already before I brush it. So it's gonna be bulky. Okay, and I'll take an orange for body hackle. I take an orange Cox hackle, and I've been tying with this a bit. That was too short, and I want to have this fly to be quite a bit of volume to it, so I use bigger feathers. And capes are different, and this is actually a shitty cape, because you can see how thick the feather is. So this will only be possible to do on a big fly, or it will be impossible to wind this on. Strip it off, and I tie it in underneath. And when the feather is thick like this, I need to put a few more turns of thread so it doesn't turn when I put it on. And like I do with all body hackles, is that I don't wind it back. I always start with 1 turn here. Otherwise I'm gonna get too few fibers here in the front. And since I want the fly to taper, I want to have quite a bit of hackle here. I can actually, if I want, do 2. And then I back this down, And normally on a body like this, where I put hackles on most of the fly, I don't put any hackles over the tubing or the tag, the mirage tinsel. I do 4 turns. On a classic fly there's always 5, but since I start with quite a bit of hackles in the front, I do normally 4. Then I take this other braid, and you can see how I just spin it, and it's a fantastic material, our braids, to spin down to any thickness you need. I can use the same one on a tiny little fly and just spin it a bit harder. Tie it in underneath, and here it's good to tie in underneath because I'm gonna have all the wing and everything on top. Take this away, and instead of cutting this, I can work my thread a little bit further in front here. I can even go down on the extra small before I take this and I double it back and tie it back in. Doing that, this can't slip. And to do durable flies, one of the things is to have materials not slip. And sometimes you use glue. I use glue on my wings and stuff like that, but for this it's better just to secure it by doubling, I think. Okay, so I take the meanest brush, our I was going to say best-selling tool, I don't know, but we've been selling a lot of brushes, and the good thing is that you can do thousands and thousands of flies without this bit different to Velcro, doesn't wear out. Brush it down a little bit. I want to have more of the fibers to blend with the hackles underneath than on the top. Pull back, make sure I don't have too much. Here we got one that's a bit too long, take that away. This one too. What I get is a lot of sparkle and a very translucent fly. And always have coffee in between body and wing. Okay, so now we're gonna start with the wing here, and now I'm using our flash. And my buddy Håkan was one of the guys that he was probably the first one that got some kind of flashable material into the Scandinavian market. This was back in the 70s, I think, or early 80s. And there we used to hunt for good flash materials, and there are a million different. But the thing is, when we made ours, I wanted to have it as soft as possible. Here I used the Hot Orange in Flames blend, and the thing with this is that it's also 5 colors in here. But there's another thing that unfortunately not all understand, and that is that this, to make a flash that's this soft, you need to spin it around a little synthetic fiber. And what I do, you can see I pull these, and then I can pull these out. And when I do this, I take these small fibers out. I'm gonna end up with a flash material that is, taking the whole thing here, that's going to be a lot softer than before it was, before I took this out. And the thing is, you can't really make this flash to be as soft as I want it without spinning it onto the these small synthetic fibers. So I'll end up with a lot softer material, and unfortunately not all people know why this flash is like this. Anyway, a lot of talk today. It's going to be a long film. Divide it between my fingers about 1/2 centimeter. Pull it in on top, spread it down on the sides, tie it in, 1 or 2 turns and double back. And when I double back, I press either with my finger or my nail, I press it out to make it really, really wide. Looking here, I have fibers like this, and remember the fish will see it from down here. Take away some of this, I can just take them and pull. And I try to have flash fibers as long as where I have my hook, not longer, because the flash will tangle in the hook. Even if you put a little epoxy or a little glue or whatever you use on the hook, it will have a tendency to tangle. Okay, so wing. I will start with my orange, and I'm gonna divide this wing into 2, even if I'm going to have a single colored wing. I divide the hair into 2, and that's because it makes it easier for me to taper the wing, and it also makes it possible to put some flashy fibers in between. And you can see how I pull the hair through the brush just to untangle and to get it wide. And when I tie this in, take away a little bit, I do it about 1 centimeter wide, put it in and make sure that my first wing will not be too long. Because one of the key things to get a fly that really will swim is to have a tapered wing. Let's take this and have a look where you have very, very few fibers in the tip of the wing like this. That is what will start to swing in the absolutely slowest current. Okay, so we cut this off, and normally 1 or 2 times, and then you have a few fibers. I twist them a little bit, and it's always a good thing to clean up as much as possible. What I can do here is I can now take, to secure this, a little bit of glue here, and I'm a bit careful not taking too much. Then I work our angel hair, and I keep on doing the hot orange in flames. Take a little bit more than normal, and you can see the fluorescent fibers. I spread them before I put them on, and I do the same 1 or 2 and double. Pull them down on the sides, spread them out before you tie them in. Taper, never do that. Everything's going to be the same length. Taper by pulling and cutting like this. You've seen me do this, I do it all the time. Okay, so now we're going to find the best hair here, because you want to have the softest, longest, best fibers on top. And instead of just cutting this, I try to clean it before I cut, so I don't cut away hair that I will need for other flies. And doing that, I move my fingers quite far up before I take the brush, because if I tie in all of this, the fly will be too bulky in the front, and you want to, even if this is a fly that you want to have quite heavy drop formed, You don't want to have too much hair. And the further up I move my fingers, the more I pull away when I do this. And you can see how I can treat the wing by brushing and pulling, and I can decide how much I want. Good. So, time to tie this in. But what about hackles here now? This is one of the things that we can do different. Either we put the hackle on first, or we put the wing on first. When I'm going to do a fly where I will have a turbo in front that will give the broadest profile, remember, it's the cone that will decide the profile on the fly. If I'm going to do that, I'll tie this in first. But now I'm going to do this the classic style with the half turbo. So what I do, I put my hackle in first. And I'm going to work with my ostrich body feathers. And I picked 2 here. And you can see how extremely mobile these are. Some of them are not as mobile like this. These feathers, I think, is perfect for putting on as a butterfly. I actually tie this pattern with a butterfly wing under the butterfly hackle under the wing too, to make it extremely wide. But today I'm going to do it as I said, classic with a split wing that will come down on the hackle will come down on the sides of the wing. So I'm going to do it like this. And this is a super soft feather. It will create a lot of volume. And I'm pulling this, checking where I want it. I don't want it that much. I take away the part I don't want. Maybe 2 or 3 turns. It will end up here somewhere. And this was super soft. And I pull it back, create that triangle there by cutting. And that's the triangle I'm tying in here now. Tie it in, a few turns. Make sure I put the hackle close to the wing. I don't want to have any of the thread to be seen there. This is a super simple feather to wind on. I just double by pulling. And they want to be all over the place, but I just pull them back, force them to go one way, and the 2 turns like that is going to be even. If I want fewer strands, I'll split the feather and take away one side of it. See how much motion this little hackle will create. It's fantastic. And remember what I said, you want to fish this early season on a heavy line where there's almost no current. This will still swim. Okay, so now we're there. Then it's time to put on the wing. And the second wing should be longer and thinner. And the thing is that I will have to look and see if I get the right taper here. This I need to pull back a little more. I wanted a little more taper. Just like that. And then I tie it in. And I'm still working my thread on the medium tubing. And I can take this before cutting and I pull it back like this. Then I cut. Gets it a bit easier to clean up here. And especially using the half turbo, it's important to have this clean. And you will have better light than I do. So when I tie for you guys, I never see anything because the light is over here. Complaining. Okay, sorry. So, is that good? Maybe it's good enough. If I don't think it's good enough, it's better to do it again. It's like with all fly tying, it's better to redo things that you think is bad than to end up with a box full of flies that every time you open it up, you look at them and say, that was a shitty hackle, or that wing should have been better tapered, or whatever. Okay, look at this now. Here we are. We have now pulled down the hackles, divided the big hackle with the second wing, and you can see, you touch this and pull this, you can see there are a few strands out here that will make a good tapering and a nice little bit of angel here. A nice tip that will swim in a good way. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm gonna pimp this a bit, and I'm gonna do it with jungle cocks, and I'm today gonna use a dyed cape. They are super easy to dye, and the only bad things with these birds is that it's getting harder and harder and harder for us to get the legal ones with the CITES certificate, and I'm now being burned so many times talking about our new stuff that I'm not going to say that our jungle cock substitute will be out soon, but I think it will. Okay, did you see what I did? I pulled the feather over my thumbnail to put it in, and I put it in to be about the same length as my tubing. And the reason I want to have a long jungle cock is that I want it to be seen behind the hackle I'm going to put in front. And you don't need to dye the capes. You can actually dye this very, very easy, like you've seen in some of the other films I've done. I dye them with a pen, and you just have, we have a pen here somewhere now, but you dye them with a marker, and you can dye these feathers any color you want. So look at this. So I get the same length, and I tie it in. Look, so I get them to be even. Looking good, I think. I can also tell you that our jungle cock substitute will come in different colors. You will have different natural colors, different sizing of course, but also different fluorescent jungle cock feathers. Pretty cool. Okay, so here we go. Almost ready. Now I'm gonna just add a little bit of motion, and I'm gonna use this. Look at this feather. Magnificent. You can see how this will move in the slowest current. And I'm just gonna put on a little bit in front of the wing here. Just gonna do a few turns looking at this feather. And I treat all the feathers the same way. I decide what I want. When I know what I want, I just turn to the tip, and I decide how much I want by creating the triangle in a place where I get the length I need to put on the amount of turns I want to have. And this you can do 1 or 2 or 3 turns. And I tie it in here, and it's like always with all these super soft guys, they are all over the place. You can, oh, you see, that's how it works every now and then. Hard to see where I have this, they are all over. But it's easy to, it will never come loose because it's so soft. The thread will just pull it down in the glue. Doubling this, holding it down, taking my 3 fingers, let the tube slide in and hold back and tie in this super soft thing here. And let all the fibers go one way. And now I work down on my extra small tubing. Looks a bit crazy here, but you'll see it will end up nicely, I think. We'll add a little bit of motion and also add to the drop shape. Untangle this. You can do it with our dubbing needle, but I can also use just the scissors like this. Looking good. And putting on a little roof on here. What I can do is that I can put a little bit of black on top. I've done that on some of my flies, but I can also just keep the orange by taking one of our, where are they? Here we go. Our bleached and dyed peacock feathers. And you find these in our peacock pack. And I take more fibers than I normally do, and the reason for that, normally I use 3 to 5. Here I'm gonna take like 10 of those, and the reason for that is that this is what's gonna divide the wing into the classic shape where I divide the last hackle. And I work it between my fingers like this, just spreading this. And when I have this many, I will have a few that will turn the wrong way, but I can just pull those away then. And I look so they're long enough, hold my fingers and tie them in. And make sure I tie in close to the hackle. They're not spread, you can take dubbing needle or again the scissor and just spread them out. I think this looks good. Feel it. See that they are long enough to keep the taper going. And this looks pretty good. Pull them up a little bit before I cut them off. And they are a bit all over the place here. Get the scissors in, and here it's good to be really close because as I said, the half turbo that I'm gonna put on does not cover as much as a turbo do. A little bit of glue, support again, put a little bit of glue on those so they can't slip. Some things I double, some things I put on with glue. And then on this I'm going to use our biggest half turbo. In a crazy way it's called large, but it's our biggest one. And it's super tight here. And especially on the ones that have a bit of paint on them. Sometimes, as you can see, I cut this at an angle. Sometimes I have to do like this actually. I have to take the tubing and just pull it a little bit to stretch it out to get a little smaller diameter that will make the cone slip on super easy, and I can just pull it down to wherever I got a bit of flush here. Come on now. So I can just pull it down to put it wherever I want it on the tube. Don't pull too much, just a little bit, okay? So I pull this down almost close to the wing, take the fly out, and here I pull down the cone so it will cover up the thread. Bulky little fly. Can you even do this? And I cut it about 3 or 4 mil. Hold it up. Look. Some people thought I got crazy when I used the wrong color of lighter. Now I find a big orange one. And I just melt this. Melt it down. Let it come down. Nice and easy, a little bit at a time to secure the cone. Holding it up like this, I get a really good hold, and we are done. Okay, looks like a little bird here. Lot of material, looking super bulky and a bit crazy, but look now what happens if I take a little moisture on my fingers, and let's see how this is gonna form when it comes down in the water. You will see how this will turn in to the shape I want it. And the super soft material will make this swim. Flomflugan, the flooded fly, and you can see it's got quite a bit of volume, but still very translucent. So, and you know how we do. We do it like this, and we have a look, and it looks good. So, this is a big, mean orange fly for special conditions that you should try to fish even under other conditions. Your pals will think you are crazy putting this on in clear water, and but it's me holding it. I think it's tied in the right way. But it's a super good fly to have in the box when other things don't work. Why don't try this mean orange fly? And saved some of my fishing days, and perhaps it can save some of yours too. Okay, so a lot of talk today and still some coffee. Thank you for watching this 30-second film, and I hope you will tie some of this. I love tying big, mean flies like this. The tying is fun, and they're good to have in the box. So, don't forget, different sizes. This is maybe what, 18 centimeters, big one. You can go down and you can tie this down to 2. Simple, a little BTT, a wing, bit more flash than normal, 1 hackle, and you're done. The flooded fly, Flomflugan. Thank you for watching, and stay strong, and bye on.